GcYoshi is Asian too. What?
Yeah, I am indeed Asian.
Okay, it doesn't matter.
It really does not.
I actually don't know. Alright. Okay, I think the volume is fine. Alright. Okay, hey, GcYoshi. Let's give my viewers a bit of a background check.
Sure.
Right, some of you guys in chat, you might not have heard of GcYoshi. So, introduce yourself.
Yeah, so basically I've been playing Brave 9 for around 2 years. And I was primarily based in the Global and America server. They're kind of the same thing, but have been renamed. So throughout my time there, I placed first in Arena 3 times. I placed UA first once, and in Novice Arena, I pretty much don't play that very well. So, and my guild has also been consistently first for a while. I'm in the guild named Frog. In America,
that's the number one, right?
That's been number one for maybe like 20 seasons. I think just primarily because before there was a lot of competition between the other powerful guilds, such as like Supremacy, Superb, and Grand Soul. But the thing is, throughout time, there has been some inactivity from players in other guilds, including ours as well. And I think from there on, we kind of just cruised in first for a good bit, just because we probably have more active players than them.
I see. So you have always remained in Frog, or have you switched guild before?
Before I was in a more free-to-play, really casual guild called the Berserkers. I still really like them actually. They're pretty much a really chill guild, and they just like to play the game. And then afterwards, I joined Warmongers, which is like some kind of like sister guild with Supremacy for a little bit, just to kind of see what a higher end guild was like. And eventually, like pretty quickly on, I joined Frog.
So you have been in Frog for how long?
Maybe almost like it could be a year already from now. Yeah, so I just been chilling in Frog just because I think the people there are pretty nice, and for the most part, it's less about like being in a good guild and just being with the guild that you just enjoy the synergy of, and just like kind of have the people and whatnot.
I see. All right, give the viewers a bit of the insight on your YouTube channel. When do you start?
Basically my YouTube channel, I kind of just I use my YouTube channel as a creative outlet. My YouTube videos are not terribly well edited, but I do read the script. Basically, I just do
your videos are awesome.
Yeah, appreciate it. But basically, I just spotlight a certain character. Basically, I decided to create YouTube videos just because I feel like there wasn't a lot of content outside of like yours and a few others back then that maybe like focus on certain characters, maybe some of the mechanics and like how to beat the characters and whether or not to recommend the characters.
True.
So I think that was at the time. There was only like pretty much you and a few other content creators at that time. So I figured maybe there's a niche for me to do something to kind of provide my insight from my experiences within like the intermediate to higher level parts of the game, and kind of just kind of focus on that area more so, and kind of like explore a little bit more of the mechanics, but and try to get players up to speed on that, and pretty much just give my opinion and my insight. I'm not always correct. I'm not always right, obviously.
Yeah.
But having just wanted to give my perspective on that, and that's pretty much just why I created YouTube channels. It's fun for me. And it is time consuming. Content creation generally is, but yeah, so that's why sometimes I have like little dips of periods where I just don't really create that much videos, but now I'm trying to pick it back up, and yeah, it's been enjoyable.
Yo, somebody in chat just said, yo, GcYoshi video helped me in Brave 9. Wow.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Theodore.
Yeah.
I'm also watching the chat a little bit.
How long have you been making contents?
So before Brave 9, I just make like random fighting game videos. I used to compete a lot in fighting games.
I see.
I still do, but with COVID being a thing, most like tournaments are not being really held. But so that's pretty much where I'm like so this has kind of just been my little game that I've been playing along with a few like other mobages. I know both you and I actually play a little bit of Genshin. So
I see.
Yeah, so but I don't create content for Genshin like you do. So I just pretty much make Brave 9 videos for now. But once like things I used to use my YouTube channel to just like upload random fighting game bits and whatnot, but nothing really too much. I've never been like much with YouTube content creation. But I just been like playing on and off.
When do you start making Brave Knight videos? Or
How long have you I could probably just look up my very first one, but it pretty much is timed with the first release of the Octos 2 or the Octos 1 update, where Seto, Belia, Lucius, and Levia got updated. And that was the time where probably everyone was like, okay, we have almost very little options to beat Seto, because, you know, the Flame Guard introduction, really, no one had much answer to it.
Seto is crazy.
So basically, like, I think that's what kind of spurred me to really start video content creation for Brave Knight, just because a lot of people were complaining like I couldn't beat Seto, and it was very difficult at the time. So I wanted to make a video just basically like how to counter Seto, but also like my opinions on like how Seto is ultimately, and that's how I created the format for my video, where I like kind of spotlight them, go over their skills and just some of the mechanics and how to beat them, because Seto wasn't exactly intuitive to beat back then.
That makes sense. Okay, so I think the chat is really excited to have you as a guest, I think, because they have been waiting for so long. I started streaming about 2 hours ago, right?
That was my bad for waking up a little bit late.
It's fine. Yeah. I've been trying to, for those guys, for any of you who are not aware, I've been trying to get this collab to, like, there's once, I don't know, I think about 2 months ago, I think GcYoshi stopped by in one of my chat, and then I just like, hey, you want to collab? And then you said, yeah, sure. And then we didn't really follow up. And then it has been, and then now there's a server merge and collaboration, like there's just so many things going on.
Yeah, but this is a very good idea that you brought up, so I'm glad that you followed through with it. Yeah, when I first popped into your channel, that's actually when you won your first UA. Yeah, and it was a pretty interesting it was a very interesting watch. I think you played the same form for every single you went first every single time, and you played the same form and won every single time.
Yo, my chat was making fun of that. They were like, how is GuitarRock winning? We add same form.
yeah, but I mean that form is pretty strong actually, and if you didn't need to micro adjust, that was actually pretty awesome. But here's, and then afterwards, if I recall, you won I wasn't there, but you won the month after, didn't you not?
Yeah, correct.
2 back-to-back UA champions. That's impressive, actually.
And then I lost the third one because that time Venaka started becoming a thing, because my CLR comp is no longer like, it's no longer good enough.
It's pretty tough, actually. We could talk about that later. I don't want to go too off topic.
Correct.
But basically, like, if I go first, I feel like I'm trying to play Soul, and if I go second, I try to play Venaka. So my box in UA is trying to like kind of mix in both warrior and mage composition, and it's like it's a little sketchy for both.
Yeah, because that time I don't have Venaka build yet, so it's a bit, especially moving second. Okay, so a lot of my viewers, they have been trying to get second opinion, which is very good. All right, especially when it comes to spell cards, when it comes to a lot of things. You know, every time when I live stream, all I do is just I make fun of Natas. That's about it. Make fun of Angelica. Make fun of players that are still using them.
Yeah, you coined the term Nard Trash. I always appreciate it.
And then I get a lot of people hating on me, like this Memeslang PH guy. But it's alright. I don't mind the haters, right? So I'm here to have fun. Alright, let's talk about the spell cards, alright?
Alright, for sure.
First things first. This is my own personal question to you.
Yes.
What do you think of a spell card? Like, do you love it? Do you hate it? Like, I want to know your opinion, your own personal opinion.
Like, I
be honest.
Okay, to be truly honest, I don't like it that much.
You don't like it?
I don't like it just because of how it makes regular arena such a big cluster. Well, I'm not too. I naturally swear sometimes, but I was to say it's a cluster bomb of mechanics. Basically, in arena, it makes things pretty difficult overall to kind of like you're almost relying a lot. Arena's always been kind of focused a little bit on luck and having the right things align.
Yes.
Because there could be just that situation where some players just naturally just screw you over, and just like you just like, oh my god, why is this guy running this form? It doesn't make any sense. Now, here's the thing: it becomes a lot more hard because a lot of people are running certain spells that make it very difficult to counter them in some situations. So you kind of just need to. It makes Arena a lot more offense based. You just need to win a lot on attack and pray that you get some wins on defense somehow. So it is pretty chaotic in terms of regular Arena. In Guild Wars, even more of a nightmare, just because it's really hard to scout a tower now that has like, a lot of good units. And they have like they're already targeting. They're using like, let's say for example, they're using Falcon to target your first support. So you really feel like, okay, well now I'm going to lose one unit, and then they're going to use Gungnir to target another. So you already feel like you're going to start the Guild War off pretty early on, losing 2 units guaranteed. And you just only need to use your 3rd unit. It makes scouting just such a nightmare overall. So that, and basically it makes already an offense-oriented game just even more offense-based. So that's why I feel like it's really, really hard. Maybe it could just be I'm not used to it. I'm always ready to be wrong. But the thing is that as it is right now, my impressions is just like whatever. And then there's also the other elephant in the room in terms of like the fact that this thing it's pretty much another min-max bloat for players in a way that like basically we have a bunch of new cards. They cost 2,000 diamonds each. And also there's not a very clear way that they're giving us the Science Ink. Basically, right now as it is, they have the event where they're giving 300 per day. And they gave 4,000 for free earlier. But basically, there's no like, I don't think this resource is going to be like ever a free-to-play resource, in the sense we can farm it in the same way that we can farm crystals and we can get like rank up stars. I just think it's just we're just pretty much waiting with no ink until they decide to feel generous. The developers feel nice enough to just give us a few ink. So it feels kind of interesting. Otherwise, people have to spend 2,000 diamonds each, and just like there's a lot of free-to-play players or newer players that still need this diamonds to do rolls and whatnot.
Okay, so what card are you currently using?
Do you have a favorite? Okay, so let me just bring up my. So I think in terms of my favorites, I like Coiling Viper a lot.
Okay. Why?
And so the spell effect of Coiling Viper allows you to pretty much sabotage a lane and reduce all that unit's range to 1. And this is incredibly valuable because it allows you to really better predict and control enemy lanes in terms of like how they can ruin yours. So basically there's like almost 3 Bane attackers, back, front, and skip. But they also have a lot of different AoEs, which kind of makes it hard to defend against. So Viper allows you to kind of avoid that in the case that you run to an enemy lane. Let's say you're running a top lane attack and the enemy's also running top lane attack. You can sabotage their lane and then put in like pretty much expendable units within your first 2 front tiles and then your back tile, and then you can kind of just like mow through their lane a lot easier without having to worry about counterforms and whatnot.
True.
In the case that like let's say you run into their tank lane, then hopefully you offset your units into the tank lane as well, so that the enemy's DPS are pretty much just try to eat away at your tanks. So it becomes like a little race of who can go through each other's tank lanes better in the case that you guessed wrong with Coiling Viper. So I think it's still pretty useful overall. In terms of attack, I also kind of like Charming Sirens. I think it's just a general good spell for attacking, just because you can time it very easily, and if the enemy's running warriors, which most people are, you just pretty much get a free block. But I think also, if I were to add a 3rd spell, Gungnir is always just a kind of the most versatile spell overall. Just bring Mammonier down to 1 Death Guard and just be done with it, because I hate dealing with that character.
But that's only a high skill level Gungnir, right? You're right. Level 5, is it? Level 5 or 6?
I focused building my Gungnir pretty early on, just because I feel like it was a versatile spell. So
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Alright, regarding the spell cards, right? So here's what I think. Like, let me know if you agree with me, right? Like, a lot of players before the server merge, before the server merge, there's a lot of people spreading hate. Like let's just agree on this, right? You go to Reddit, you go to their Facebook page. There's a lot of players that say that Koreans are hate, Japanese players are hate. There's a lot of like, you know, that people that think they deserve some sort of compensation, right? Like, have you heard of any of those?
Yes, I read it sometimes. I remember the Reddit threads specifically where people say that like these people are ahead. We need somebody to catch up because of that.
Yeah. So here's my take on the spell cards, right? I have a feeling the developers introduced the spell cards because they know that it's unfair because Korean players are ahead, which is true. But they introduced the spell card as like a reset for all the players once the server merge. Everybody, so the spell card, there's a reason why they make it more powerful than mercenaries. There's a reason why the spell cards ignore, like, for example, Siren, even though you have debuff immunity, it still goes through, right? Spell card has the priority. So it's like spell card is almost more valuable in most cases. So this puts all the players in an equal playing field again, because now that you can't complain that the Koreans are ahead or they have Angelica plus 15. I don't. You get what I mean? So that's why they introduced this spell card system to sort of as a reset.
Right. I see your point actually. That's a very good perspective that I didn't consider. So, but yeah, because spell cards are so powerful and everyone has like at least maybe 2 spells, especially now that they have the ink, then basically it gives them kind of like a little bit more of it's kind of an equalizer in terms of powers overall.
Yeah, true.
I definitely agree with that sentiment, but I do think that there's another issue in terms that some spell cards definitely do. It's kind of like mercenaries in a way that you said, that you need to have multiple variety of them to make your account stronger, and you also need to, like, for some of them, they definitely need skill ups.
Yeah.
And the main issue is that a lot of accounts who are ahead, both like, let's say, very old accounts that have been playing for 3 years, or just general dolphin or whale accounts, they run out of things to buy with diamonds pretty much. And this kind of gives them like a way to dump their diamonds into new a new system to kind of dump their diamonds to. I think that's the true intention of the mechanic overall.
Isn't the rank boost for that?
Rank boost is for that, but to be honest, so it's good that you bring up rank boost, because it kind of seems like that at first, where people are given this mechanic, but it's like what I said earlier in terms of min-max float is pretty much just like another mechanic to be introduced to kind of separate eventually in the long run between people who like are resource deprived and people who have a lot of like spare resources to spend. Because as it is right now, I think a lot of the big differentiator between, like, let's say a low diamond or low crystal player is that a lot of their units are kind of like not only like unoptimized, but if you notice, like, as you climb up, you'll encounter forms where everyone has their units rank boosted, and the stats eventually do matter quite a bit. It's a little bit diminishing returns, but overall, rank boost is pretty important now. Yeah, and I feel like spells are like that too, where as you scale further on, you have people who could shuffle between different spells a lot more frequently, and the people who just started and are kind of free to play don't really have much means. They have to play a long game of catch up. That's what I feel. Yeah,
unless they ever introduce that's a good point, right? If they the thing is, we did get, all of us do get 4,000 that yellow thing for the spell cards. New players that come in won't have that. Hopefully they will give them something in the future.
Yeah, and new players that come in, that's going to be the least of their concern. They have to build up their units, they have to roll for companions. That's like the biggest thing right now. I started a free-to-play account actually, just to kind of see the new player experience, and that's pretty much what's like gating me from the account from being good. Like, all my units just don't have companions. So, and soul gears take a while to build as well, but that's another thing.
Yeah, true. All right, so let's see. Okay, so quick question, right? I've been getting a lot of like just random questions that don't have enough details for me to help them. Like, people would just come to my comment section and be like, hey, I'm new. Which card should I buy?
Yeah.
Do you ever think that? I don't think that there's a universal card for everyone. I think it really depends on what comp you're like, what units you have. Do you think there's a universal card? Like, which one is the most like flexible in your opinion?
So there are certain. Basically, if I was asked that general question, I would just throw out like maybe 3 cards. I think that question is specific enough to the point we could just answer it. But
yeah.
So basically, if I were to go through like the 3 main quote unquote free to play cards, I would say definitely Sirens is a really good choice right off the bat, just because it's like it does the most useful thing that it needs to do at rank 1.
Okay.
I think Sirens is really good for that.
Wait, you think Siren is better than Falcon?
For rank 1, I think I wouldn't say it's better, but it's definitely really good.
Okay. That's interesting.
Falcon has the thing is Falcon at rank 1 does have a lot of methods of play around that people are incorporating. Basically, Falcon will target Mage at the very first round, and a lot of people, because of that, put their Helga as the first attacker.
That's a Helga, true.
Yeah, so that's just like, and then pretty much from there, like, okay, well, Falcon's whatever. Falcon is definitely really good though. Don't get me wrong. But at rank 1, I just think like Sirens is a lot harder to play around and covers more bases. And then I think another good one at rank 1 is Gungnir, I think.
Gungnir?
Yeah, because you just target the first warrior as well. I don't think Sirens and Gungnir go well together at rank 1, however, because they both target the same kind of a unit. But as for other rank 1s, I think Sylphid's okay overall. And yeah, and then from there it's just your choice of any of the late ones.
Yeah, I see chat saying that I let my Vols move at turn 4. I think a lot of players try to do that as well, to let their warriors move first, so you don't get charming Sirens.
Yeah. So do you want to go over like each spell and basically just like kind of discuss a little briefly about them?
Yeah, sure. We could do that.
Yeah. Okay, so we can probably give both of our thoughts on it.
Yeah. So if you were to say best card for new players, you would say Gungnir and Siren. Am I right?
I really do feel like those are the 2 most like easiest spell to kind of overall use and get some mileage out of. I do think other spells are very strong. The problem is that the lane spells that's like a different discussion for later, but basically like targeting top lane is actually probably the most valuable lane right off the bat. But the thing is that a lot of people now are kind of like throwing their units all over the map or all over the board. So yeah, it helps definitely to have like rank 3 or 5 of the lane targeting spells.
True.
Not necessary, but it helps a lot.
So right now you did mention earlier you're using the Coiling Viper. What's the other card you're using?
Gungnir generally.
What level?
My Gungnir is, let me take
7?
a look.
Max?
It's 6, I think.
Oh.
Yeah. I had a lot of spare diamonds before this thing dropped, and now I have 0 diamonds. So, and I don't think I want to refill diamonds to get these stupid spells out. But basically my Gungnir is at 6, and my Sirens, or what was the other one? My Viper's at 5.
Okay. So yeah, like you mentioned, we can go through the cards. Do you own like most of them or what?
I own a good amount of them.
I only have 2.
I have my account is definitely I dolphin a bit, or
dolphin a bit.
Some others. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have all of them except for 2, but pretty much all of them are level 1. So
I see. Okay, for the other like veteran players, right, who have been playing for a while, do you think it's better for them to get a variety of different cards, or do you think it's better for them to focus on one card and just upgrade like specifically following their comp?
Here's the problem. I think it depends on what content you're focused on. I think for Arena you can get away with just focusing on like 2 cards and just like but there is like, you have to kind of be smart about how you rank up these spells. Basically, some spells actually feel like they have diminishing returns as you rank them up from like beyond rank 5. because they activate earlier, but they actually don't have the duration increase, so it can kind of not benefit you in some cases. So I think like analyze which spells are like good to bring up at certain part. And yeah, and from there on, just like I guess collect a few other ones to be at rank 1. I think it's better to have like a little bit of a spread out, especially if you're doing Guild Wars. You need different kinds of spells for sure for different kinds of situations if you're doing Guild War. For regular arena, you could just kind of just spearhead a strategy and try to win on offense with certain cards.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? You can't reduce the turn, right?
Mm-hmm.
The number of turn that it starts. Like for example, like Falcon, for example, it starts at 5th turn, and then the duration of the Falcon is 12 turns, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you upgrade it, it starts like at 2nd turn, but the duration is still the same, so it feels like it doesn't last as long, if you get what I'm trying to say. And you can't toggle back the turn when it goes up, right? Yeah, that's the thing.
You cannot go back ranks, so yeah. So your chat is probably bringing up whether or not free to play or a whale or a dolphin. I am definitely not free to play. That much I could say. I don't try to spend more than I really feel like I need to. But the thing is, yeah, that's especially with the spell card system, I really don't want to get baited into like thinking like, oh, I gotta pull 4 diamonds just to like rank up something to like. It'll probably cost me like $90 to rank up a card from like 1 to 4 or something like that. And I'm just like, it's not efficient. It's not efficient use of money.
Okay.
So
okay.
As of right now, I have not actually spent money since the patch, but there has been times before where I was just like, all right, I want to roll for a few companions, but that was a while ago.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's worth waiting for the cards.
I really don't think so. But the problem is that like here's my like gripe is that they didn't say how they're gonna offer ink to upgrade these cards. So we're still kind of left in the dust, and pretty much whenever they choose to give ink, we're pretty much like the lowly peasants, and they're just like the gods, I guess. They're just like, oh, I'll give you ink, my child, and I'm like, oh, so generous. But even though they introduced the system that created this problem to begin with.
I have a feeling, right? They did say that they want to rework the World Arena. So I have a feeling they will give rewards there, but I'm not sure how they are going to rework it, and we'll see.
Yeah, I'm not gonna front. I hate World Arena. I did not like play that for a long time.
What?
But that was my glimpse into well, just because. So the thing is, I think I spent 3 World Arenas where I tried to do something, or actually was it 2 or 3? Okay, there's definitely maybe 3 World Arenas in a row where I try to play it pretty seriously.
Yeah, I always see you at top rank.
Yeah, so for the first one, it's just so hard because of the timing situation.
True.
World Arena World Arena is a little bit fair in that regard, I guess, because they choose a different region, and it kind of actually end on that region's preferred time.
True. Yeah.
Pretty much their time zone, but for the most part, it never really aligned well for the US's time. It has for a few times, so I was able to play, and I just overall, okay, so what I do like about World Arena, I'll say, is that it's harder to copy people's form because you can't really like look them up.
Yeah, correct.
So, but the thing is that like that's kind of the way it is. When AOZ and I started playing Arena seriously, we're just like, damn, the Korean people copy a lot. They're just like straight out like, you run a forum that's like any kind of good within the first 15 minutes. Immediately you're going to start seeing copies within like the first 2 or 15 minutes tops. You get to run that form on your own. You immediately need to start like considering counters right off the bat to your own form.
So here's the thing, right? Do you think the spell cards sort of help with that? So now you can't copy because you might have different spell cards. What do you think?
So that's a good point in the regards that like spell cards, they kind of differentiate yourself, but the thing is that it requires people to kind of like invest in the cards to like be less likely to copy. Yeah. And also it kind of encourages players to like invest in the cards as well, so that they can have like a whole region of cards to kind of just go in on people. But here's the thing is that like in the end, I feel like as we reach that point where people are just building up their cards, it's not going to matter, and we're going to have like pretty much the same situation as before. That's just how I feel.
True. Unless they add more cards in the future.
Yeah. I think in your chat, one person actually had a good point. Lucas just said that we'll support the game, so is Pog. But I kind of like in the grand scheme of things, I agree with that. So just let the introduce a system where people could like throw their money at.
Yeah, of course. Like I agree. The thing is, I see a lot of hate. Like especially before the server merge, people are saying like, "Oh, we're gonna now drop into silver rank or whatever because Korean whales, Japan whales." But these are the players supporting the game. Like without them, right? You won't even have arena. You won't even have the game, right? The game will be closed.
Yeah, they definitely need to. It's kind of a very gacha games in general always have like this kind of fairly unhealthy relationship with its players, where they're trying to like draw money from its players, whereas the players are trying to like not spend as much as possible, but they still want to play the game. It's very prevalent in like other games, especially like Genshin Impact, probably, where you're almost never gonna get very few people get the 5 stars that they want. And you just say, well, I have to spend primo gems, I guess, and but instead you just roll and you keep getting Chongying or something like that.
True. So do you want to go over the spell cards?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
I'll let you decide the order or the topic.
Okay, let's talk a bit about Gungnir first, right?
Okay, sounds good.
Like, here's what I think of it right now, because I don't think it's that worth it to get it at level 1. Like, because you're just targeting enemy's warrior, and I feel like they can still try to here's the thing, right? Everyone is using Venaka form, right? And in Venaka form, let's say, at least in the top rank, majority. So their warrior will probably already move before this 10 turn has begun, right? Most of the time.
Yes.
So let's say the Alec move first, and then you kill the Alec after. Like, what's the point? He already moved. I feel like for this card to be really good, it needs to like start earlier. That's just what I think.
No, I agree with that. In fact, so right from the get-go, it strikes before the 10th turn, and that's actually pretty slow as far as spells go. And like you said earlier, the warrior is likely to have already gone, and even like if you were to attack with Gungnir, you can create a situation where you do your attack and the enemy gets to attack before Gungnir strikes as well. So it is very slow at level 1. I agree with your point. It's not that great. But Gungnir, I think it should be considered for like its long-term investment, just because its versatility is really, really important later on, I think. The fact that you could just straight up remove one magician, one defender at later skill ranks is really, really important. But overall, I do agree with your point. I think Gungnir is probably one of the safest spells, though, to kind of just like get one off, and then like as you see later, just invest and just build it up. And it's always... The thing about Gungnir is that it's always going to be useful. That's just my opinion of it.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Too bad it doesn't target like supporter. It's like warrior, magician, or defender. If it targets Venaka directly, that would be so OP.
Right? It would be pretty bonkers. Especially the thing is that like right now, a lot of teams are trying to run like almost 1 or 2 supports outside of like very, very unique forms. So basically, being able to gut the first defend or to gut the first support can be pretty strong. However, a lot of people do actually initiate with Galania in like a very like throwaway spot. So that's probably like a good way to play around it if it were to target supports. So, but as it is right now, it's just any offensive unit.
Somebody say I like how hard Yoshi trying not to swear.
I mean, like,
feel free. Just be yourself.
I'm working a professional. No, I'm myself right now. There's no reason for me to swear. So,
all right.
I'm good.
Yo, you say you're trying so hard to not. Do you swear a lot in your videos?
No, I don't. I swear if I'm angry, I guess. But there's only one video I've been kind of like annoyed about. But otherwise,
I saw your latest video. Your latest video, right? I think you did swear a bit. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Alright, so Gungnir, Wait, so far, Gungnir, as far as this is based on my testing, the only one that counters this is Mamone, Lucius, and Lloyd. Am I right?
Yeah, that's true.
Have you tried with Seer? I don't think Seer survives through this, right?
No, it does not. It does way too much damage for Seer to properly block. Now, here's the thing, though. It's easily played around in most situations by providing a Galania buff to the corresponding unit, if you can actually do that. But for some reason, Galania Grand Hill still dies in one shot.
I've heard from my guildmate, and Galania Grand doesn't seem to counter this. Why? Is that a bug?
What's the explanation? I do not know right off the top of my head. But when I look at when I did my testings, I noticed there were when Gungnir hit Grand, there was two sources. There's two sources of damage. So part of me wants to feel like there's a bug because it does not behave this way with actually almost any other unit. It does not behave this way.
Is it something to do with the reflective?
Yeah. D8 makes I think in your chat says that he contacted or they contacted the support about it, and they say it's not a bug. So thank God, because I hate Galania Grand. That's enough to make me swear. And I hate that strategy. It's so annoying to deal with. So I'm down to Gungnir that character out of existence. And
it doesn't work with Galania Grand, but it works with Galania to everyone else, I assume.
Yeah. Any other character could survive with Galania. So there's a lot of situations where Gungnir is targeting the first warrior, and we have to circumvent it by providing a Galania buff to like the very first moving warrior.
Galania Grand is cancer.
It's pretty, as far as cancer things go. Yeah, that's definitely it. When people initiate with Galania Grand, I just like turn my brain off. I was like, all right, you won. Congratulations for being good.
I don't think I mind it as much because I'm a Celia abuser. I'm a Celia plus Trav. I always wait to round 2. I just remove that entire taunt and I just go with other lanes. That's what I always do.
That's probably the best way to beat it, to be honest. So.
Yeah, a lot of players try to like Ventana and then like Alec afterwards. Like it's quite hard. It's quite hard to do that consistently.
Really, really tough. Yeah.
Alright, should we talk about Sirens?
Sirens, okay. Yeah. So Sirens is probably, as I said earlier, the best free-to-play spell, just because of how useful it is. At rank 1, it pretty much already does exactly what you need it to do and fulfill its role. And in fact, ranking up Sirens is almost not necessary. First, you can target the earliest support, you can target the earliest magician.
Yeah.
Like, bringing your support onto your side is like, is sometimes useful, but you really need to like have a big brain to kind of understand like what support you're starting with. And kind of draw that support with them. So I just don't think it's really useful.
But it's more useful for the turns, right? The duration of Sirens.
So the durations of turns, sure, but it's like it's not that much to begin with. I don't think it's like enough to. You don't get enough turns to kind of justify like throwing diamonds into the spell. That's just like in terms of the cost overall. That's just overall how I see it.
Maybe just one time from 4 to 5. Afterwards, it's diminished value.
Yeah, it's incredibly diminishing value. And targeting their first magician is pretty much like there's almost no use for it because the charm lasts so little. Pretty much the only reason why you would ever want to target a magician is if they're running a Sylphid spell on their magician to the point where their magician is attacking first round, and then that's where like. But it's like that's such a specific counter to the point where like it's I can only imagine it being useful with Guild War, and if you really hate one player in Arena who happens to be like running this, you can like kind of destroy them with this if you really want to. But so far I don't think there's enough players right now to justify having such a like specific targeting concept. So
true.
Like I feel like I don't see a lot of people opening up with Magician's first round.
Natus abusers.
Yeah, Narcissus. I don't even think. If you see like Narcissus Sylphid, you can probably run that. Run your rank 5 Charming Sirens to target that Magician. Yeah, I don't think it's a very practical way to go about it.
True. Alright, let's move on to Chasing Falcon.
Okay, so this spell this spell is probably the most influential one right now in terms of like how annoying it is to deal with.
Yeah.
In terms of free to play spells, I think this one is similar to Gungnir. Is great at like early ranks as well, and then just to build it up because it's so useful. It's so annoying to deal with. Yeah, this is definitely the one of the stronger spells actually.
Would you upgrade this? Would you recommend upgrading this?
Absolutely, I think so. Because right now, targeting the first magician is like it's okay sometimes. If they start off with Celia, you can blow her up maybe. But once you get to the point where you start targeting supports and warriors, that become very strong. So, like as we said earlier with our Gungnir discussion, the first targeting the first support can be really, really strong if they don't open with Galania. If they're running like Sola or something, you just immediately remove Sola. If they're running Banaka, you can potentially just remove her too. It's very, very strong, and it's kind of ridiculous. And targeting the first warrior is actually just like straight out ridiculous as well, because sometimes people cluster up the warriors in safe spots. And you could just immediately target that. What's really undervalued about Falcon is that it ignores taunts. So in a situation where people are like initiating with Grand Hilder or Lloyd or something like that, you could just straight out say, "Hey, I don't give a crap about your taunt," and just blow up their key units, and then afterwards just focus on the tanks after. So Falcons is really strong in all content. It's great in arena. It's incredibly annoying to deal with in arena, and it's just a huge problem to deal with in Guild War, especially.
Yeah, but I don't think this is a defensive card for Guild Wars, right? What do you think?
No, I think it is actually, because
really?
Right off the bat, yeah, because the thing is, in Guild War, a lot of people try to cover basically a common combination I see is that they're going to Gungnir the first warrior that you're going to use, and they're going to Falcon the first support you intend to use. So you feel pressure to run both warriors and supports, and you kind of have to have situations where you need to throw away those, like you need to start off with a warrior or support that is meant to die. And for Guild War defenses, this is huge to drag down their KO count, and also makes forms pretty tricky to deal with.
Oh, I never encountered that yet because I'm still running like Sioa to attack in Guild Wars. What I use is I always use Celia to Velfun. It seems to always work. Like Celia will always nullify whatever freaking taunt there is, and Velfun will but that will happen in round 2, so that 2 cards doesn't affect me.
It works sometimes. Yeah. It's definitely like good sometimes, especially in like you said, just to run like starting off with Celia and Velfern.
Yeah.
But of course, there's a lot of variations of this.
Yeah,
Some
true.
They target the first magician as well, and they target something else. So actually Frog just came out of our Guild War yesterday, and we faced against the number 1 guild right now, which is BDG_JP.
Okay.
And they're ranked 1st, and we're ranked 5th, and that was like every single one of their forms. It's almost something like this, where they're running Falcon to target one class of unit, and they're running like Gungnir to target another, and it's just such a nightmare to scout these forms when you don't know their turn order yet.
Yeah,
and you just have to make assumptions, and you have to like pray. And you're not going to have a clear-cut formation anymore that could just straight out like, yep, this is the form that's going to beat it. No guaranteed, or not absolutely guaranteed, I mean.
Yeah, true.
But you can't have that form anymore, so you just need to like make assumptions, and you need to pray to God that they don't do something really weird and to throw you off. So it's a cluster. Yeah.
Okay. I assume everyone in the rank 1 guild that you fought against, they are all using Venaka comms?
No. There's a lot of different variations. Some don't even run Venaka. They just run like Raphithia and a few mages. Some of them are running. There's a lot of different variations, but a lot of people are still running. A lot of people are still running Albion.
Yeah,
Albion is very good. Yeah, some people are just running. Some people are running Venaka just with Jin.
Very cancerous.
Yep, that's I say right off the bat, Banaka with Jin is like almost better than any legendary unit in the game right now. So free to play players, eat your heart out. Just build up Banaka and Jin, and you're like pretty strong.
Yeah, you might not even need to build Jin at all, right? I think it works at low skill level with two of them.
No, Jin needs high skill level, unfortunately, because
Really?
the main aspect of what makes Jin work is that his defense is so naturally high now, especially with the
With rage runes?
Not just the rage runes, because he always had that, but because of the new step bonus gives him crit damage.
Yeah, I see.
So basically Jin can reach up to like default 90% defense now, and that pretty much puts him in almost like unkillable categories with normal attacks, which allows him to always like activate the counter essentially.
90% without the runes or with
90% with the runes.
Oh,
but
okay.
That's just like 90% just start at straight battle is pretty strong.
Yeah. And yeah, there's no way to increase it unless you use your to hunt.
No, Sola doesn't work for warriors if I recall. So
True.
You could technically use Helga sometimes. People have always, that's the whole concept behind the Mamonir Helga Jin combination, is that if Alec were to hit the unit or hit the front, Mamonir will strip the buffs, Helga will provide 100% defense to Jin, and then Jin is able to return the damage back to Alec. That's like the classic front stop formation. But the thing is, with units like that, as it is right now, he almost doesn't need it.
True.
Because he starts off with so much defense on his own. But you could always run like Celia or something to help like mitigate it.
Okay. Very interesting one. I want to talk about Bloodthirsty Orochi.
Okay.
What do you think of this card?
So I'll let you go first on this one. What do you think about it?
What do I think of this? I actually think this is pretty good. I think this is pretty good, especially for budget players. I see a lot of budget players, they still use COR, right? And then they don't have like, they use 4 mages and they went in with like Orphina first. So I feel like sometimes Orphina lacks the damage to just like kill anyone even. So this helps a little bit. And yeah, if your Alec is like not plus 15, Alec plus 12, this also helps a little bit. Hey, is that Pro X? What's up? 2 whales discussing spell cards. No. Free to play.
Free to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, free to play. Sure. Okay.
Let's see. I haven't purchased this card yet, but of course there's a lot of theory that I would love to try. Like this might be able to get rid of Seer as well, right? Because it's so much of DOT damage, but I haven't had the chance to test it yet, of course. What do you think?
This spell is okay. So when I first saw this spell, I was like, "Oh my god, this looks so good!" Current HP, direct damage, DOT. That's like ridiculous. Yeah. Then afterwards, I thought, okay, well, it only targets one lane.
True.
And it won't ever kill them because it only does current HP each time.
Yeah, correct. So you have to have like another unit to finish them off.
So then I was just like, afterwards, I was like, I'm not too sure about this card. And after getting it, I was like, okay, yeah, this card is actually really damn good. So this card is just so useful. It's actually one of the most useful cards in Guild War, to be honest.
Yeah, it counters quite a lot of things, right?
Yes, it does. So
I think it destroys Vinaka form, right? Am I right?
No, absolutely. That's the whole reason why you use this card, pretty much, is that you bring Vinaka down to pretty much a sliver of life. And then afterwards, you just hit any warrior and immediately kill Vinaka afterwards.
Yeah, it is crazy, the value.
So this card is essentially just the same value, just to kind of like deal with a lot of things that would be guessing games with other cards. It is okay in arena. It's because it's a lane targeting spell, you need to guess right, and you still need to actually like one tap those units that are 1 HP. But it's like a decent card in regular arena overall, and it's a really useful card in novice arena. Because novice arena units don't have like a lot of mitigations to deal with this kind of card. So overall, this card is actually super underrated if it's not on people's radar yet. It's really, really useful. If you do Guild Wars, it's almost like a must, I feel like. Saves so much thinking.
And it looks cool. I like the artwork here.
Yeah, I love it too. Like the what is this? A snake, a hydra, or something? It's like a bunch. Or Orochi's like the 8-headed serpent and stuff in the Japanese lore, or Naruto or some shit. I don't know, but yeah.
Do you think it's worth upgrading it though?
I think having
you get more turns.
if you do guild war, you absolutely need to like kind of try to check different lanes for it. It only needs to be rank 5 at most. I feel like just so you can get all 3 lanes. But rank 3 is fine too, because upper and middle lane or bottom lane are pretty important areas to target. I think this one's fine with the slower build. You don't really have to focus too much on it.
Yeah, which is why I mentioned earlier, when you use a lot of players at least in the lower ranks, they are still not willing to switch to Venaka forms. So they are still sticking with their CLR form. So you can stack so much with the magicians, like that will like take so much HP away. That's like 5-6 turns, and then your Orphila just go in and hopefully secure 3 kills.
Yeah. And another nice thing about Orochi as well is that if you target even the tank lane, you can just simply put them in like killing range for almost everything.
Except for Mamonir, right?
Mamonir, yeah, you still. But the thing about here's a nice thing though. Alec runs into some issues sometimes that he doesn't do enough damage to actually pop
the Death
Mamonir's first Death
Energy
Guard. But Orochi guarantees that, and also usually what happens is that they will put a Mamonir in front of a Jhin, and so the Jhin will be like 2 tiles away from the Mamonir.
It's something that a lot of people do, yeah.
But if you were to target that lane with Orochi, then Mamonir will be like, she'll have very little health left, and the Jhin will also have very little health left. So you can actually get to a point where Alec is able to kill the Jhin with just his normal attack, and thus he doesn't actually die in his attack. So that can be really useful.
True. I never thought of that, because I think the more secure way is just to use Christina, because Jhin would die or something, right, from DOT.
Yeah. So here's a kind of a funny situation is that like BTC and I attacked the top tower in the BDG guild for guild war. And I copied his form just because he really went in with it, and I was asking like, hey, let me just copy it so we can get like the full damage on this turret. But he had an attack where pretty much he Orochi'd the top row, and he initiated with Elijah, the character that ignores taunt and applies concentrated fire.
Concentrated fire, okay.
And what the strategy was originally meant to that he concentrated fire to Jhin, and then I think reduce the stats and then just like finish it off with something else while using Orochi on top lane. But Elijah actually did enough damage to just straight up kill the Jhin and not apply the concentrated fire.
The
attack went about differently. It still worked, but it was just kind of interesting overall because Orochi is just so strong and devastating to the point where you can use any unit, like maybe even like units that don't seem to work or don't seem viable, just to straight out kill the units. So it kind of opens some new strategies and ideas.
Yeah, the thing is, I feel like with this card, you don't need Natus anymore. You don't need Natus anymore. Just
you have to get with the program, man. We didn't need Natus for a long time.
yeah. That's true. It's just you use Alec, hits front 3 tiles, and I don't know, maybe in the future we'll have Hanya that hit back 3 tiles. Like it just covers.
Hanya, that's the character that's gonna be I want him to be good.
Hopefully he'll be good.
Yeah, he'll probably be ridiculous. Who knows?
Okay, let's switch to Revenging Rakshasa. And a lot of players have been saying this card is bad. What do you think?
I think they're not wrong in the sense that this card definitely looks very underwhelming, but they have to understand what the role of this card is. This card is a novice arena card by far.
Novice arena?
That's pretty much, it's a novice arena card because novice arena, so it allows your supports or actually allows your other units to counter attack with fixed additional damage, kind of like turns them a little bit into Seto. But the fixed additional damage will do 125% of the enemy's max HP, essentially one-shotting them.
Yeah.
So the thing about this card is that it's entirely based upon novice arena. That's what I feel like, because too many units in regular arena have ways around this card.
Wait, you're talking about at level 1, is it?
Well, I'm talking about just in general, but at level 1, it only allows your first only allows your support to have this ability, but allowing your support actually to trade with another unit is pretty strong, I feel like. And it can activate pretty early with later ranks. That's if you want to rank this. Let's just talk about the rank 1. It activates before the 5th turn, which is not too bad, but the problem is that it doesn't last very long.
Yeah, 4 turns is not that long. I feel like this card gets really valuable at high skill level, because once you can give this to your defender, that's kind of OP, right?
Yeah, and Novice Arena units don't have any. Pretty much, I don't think any Novice Arena unit has a way to avoid 125% max HP additional fixed damage. So any unit that attacks your Rakshasa unit will be a Rakshasa buffed unit will be will just simply die. And I think that's pretty strong actually. But overall, it's just like an okay card, I think. I really think it's useful in Novice Arena. It has some use in Guild War perhaps, but I think in terms of like the value brought by other cards are just simply like a lot more immediately realized. And this card is like it's kind of tough to use, and even if used well, you kind of just like pretty much trading you're just killing 1 or 2 units essentially if used correctly.
Wait, what will be the interaction between this card? Let's say I have Albion to Mamone. My Mamone has this at level 7, right? And then that Alec with Venaka would come in and hit that Mamone. The Alec will still survive, right? Share damage with Venaka.
Yes. He'll still survive as a result.
Because even though it's fixed damage, unless it's a direct damage.
Yeah. So that's why this card is like not immediately seen as good. Well, it probably isn't that great overall compared to the other cards, is because there's too many ways to play around it. With really powerful units, which is why I think like Novice Arena, this card is a lot stronger, because there's no like, I don't think any unit has like a guard in Novice Arena, and there's no like Venaka kind of things to share damage or whatnot in Novice Arena yet.
Not yet.
Pretty much.
Not yet, right?
Not yet. Cross your fingers. We're gonna. Maybe we'll just get every 4-star to be reworked into a different version of a 5-star. That'll be a joy, I guess.
Maybe. in the future, I'm sure that will happen.
But yeah, as far as this card goes, people are not really wrong to kind of like dismiss it. But I do think it has a lot of unrealized potential in Novice Arena, and that's about it.
Yeah, maybe we'll wait for, I don't know, Walia or something to get reworked. Then can utilize this card better.
Yeah, because a lot of people actually, I think in Novice Arena, a lot of people put their supports in the front, just knowing that like, hey, they'll die or whatever, because the average power level of Novice Arena is pretty high. So it's like whoever goes first just can outright remove units. We have like people moving with Deka to just immediately kill out like 3 or 4 units.
Yeah.
So I don't think this card is going to stop it, but it'll allow like certain kind of openings where people initiate with tanks like Iris or something like that, or even Carlson. Apply the Rakshasa on a Carlson and then watch him like just straight up like take aggro and just kill the units, you know. Turning Carlson to like some kind of weird version of Seto sounds kind of strong actually. So it's that's pretty cool, I think. But overall, it's not, only if you play Novice Arena I think this card is good. Otherwise you can skip it.
I don't know, I feel like Guild Wars might be usable as well in some
I think so
forms.
too. Yes, I think so as well. But the thing is that with Guild Wars, if you're doing a scout, there's too many uncertainties to kind of rely on revenging Rakshasa. Like if they have 3 potential lanes that they can initiate from, it becomes kind of hard to make that predictive gesture with this card.
True.
Unless you utilize a taunt, but like utilizing taunt in Guild War, good luck with that, because it's just a lot more headache to all the already existing systems. You have to keep track of when the taunt is active for and when it's going to be gone.
Yep. Okay, let's talk about, let's see, I think we talk about protective edges first, because protective edges, I think this is something that a lot of players use in Guild Wars. Am I right?
It's not actually a lot used in Guild Wars. At least from what I've seen, they're just in Guild Wars. People are more so just targeting your key units with Falcon and Gungnir. and just trying to like try to drop you below the KO threshold. But with Aegis, so Aegis has some overlap with Coiling Viper in the sense that they kind of seem to do similar things. Coiling Viper reduces enemies' range to 1, whereas Protective Aegis provides an AoE absorption effect that reduces enemies' attacks to 1 if they're targeted. The thing about what makes them different is that Aegis is always going to guarantee target your lane. So you can Coiling Viper requires you to be like a kind of predictive and try to guess which lane you're going to put their units in. Yeah. Whereas Aegis is always guaranteed that you can target your own lane.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, but the thing is that Aegis is a very slow spell overall.
Yep, it's more for protecting against your where they start moving around too.
Exactly, yeah. So I think like, and I think Aegis is kind of tricky to use, just because. Yeah, it's a pretty defensive spell. But I'm just not too sure about it, to be honest. Because the meta is so offense oriented to the point where like relying on a spell that activates like before the 10th turn or before the 12th turn at max rank is kind of like, yeah, you have to really know what you're doing. I don't think it's bad. I think it's just a pretty, as far as the other cards, as far as compared to the other cards, I think it's a lot more trickier to use.
True.
And also, actually, one of your chat members, Salt Game, actually makes a very, very good point that Aegis does not stop supports in the same way that Revi or in the same way that Coiling Viper does. Coiling Viper can reduce support range like Galania, Repithia, and Asmo to like 1 tile, whereas Aegis is not going to do that, I believe.
Okay, so overall, you are saying that Coiling Viper is better?
I think Coiling Viper is a lot more intuitive, to be honest, whereas Aegis is kind of like you really have to like make predictive measures and kind of understand the trend of like the people that you're facing to make good use of it. Or you need a very specific strategy in mind.
Wait, I thought it's the other way around because Aegis, you protect your own lane, so you know which is your own lane, whereas Viper is more, you don't know which will be the enemies.
I just think that like to start
lane, right?
off, you have to survive the initial attacks though. That's why I think that makes it kind of hard.
True, yeah. Unless you go 2 to 3 taunters or something for the first turn.
Something like that. If you have like a very specific, like maybe I can anticipate this being kind of strong with like some kind of weird Floria Grand combination and some kind of gimmicky strategy, but it's just even then I'm not too sure how to like properly use this card.
Sure. Alright, let's talk about Coiling Viper since you did mention it.
Okay.
Yeah, I faced this card quite a number of times. I think it's really strong.
Yeah, it's pretty strong. It's just straight out like just gimps the enemy lane completely. So if they have any supports, any warriors in there, that Alec is only going to hit the front tile, that Balze is only going to hit 1 tile. It's pretty strong, and it lasts for a long time. It can activate pretty early. That's like the main perks of the spell, actually.
Yeah, do you think this card is good at level 1?
Pretty decent at level 1, actually. As far as level 1 spells go, this is a pretty decent one. Just because, in general, lane target spells will always default to the top lane at rank 1, which is pretty good because traditionally attacking from the top lane is the strongest lane to attack from. This is like the meta before the spell cards, mind you.
Yeah. Right.
So top lane is always the easiest to kind of generally win from and climb downward and to climb the arena ranks, just because like naturally top lane has advantage over like mid lane forms and bot lane forms for the most part. Now the thing is that like middle lane forms kind of have their like they have like an okay matchup, and bottom lane forms are the most prone to running into tanks. So they have to kind of like eat away at the tanks and try to eventually reach to the units at the top or mid to win. And almost a bottom lane form will never win against a middle lane form, traditionally at least. There's always exceptions.
Yeah, so right now I own Charming Sirens and Chasing Falcon. I've been thinking of getting this as my next one.
I think it's a good choice, to be honest, because this is the spell that's only going to that starts off good and is only going to get better.
Which one do you think is a good pair with Coiling Viper?
I use Gungnir, but that's probably not the most efficient thing to be using.
I see.
That's actually a good question. I don't really know right off the bat. I think
Mm.
like you can almost go with any card just because Coiling Viper is pretty effective on its own. So you can just Coiling Viper like the lane that you intend to attack in,
Yeah.
and then Gungnir a random defender that you may find, so that you don't get screwed up by a Gallineer Grand, or you can just take Mammonier down to one Death Guard. So in your chat, Shadow Eagle asked, "Is Viper better than Aegis?" I think not strictly so, but I think that Viper is a lot better, is a lot easier to use and to get effective mileage out of than Aegis.
It depends on Arena versus Guild Wars, right? I think.
Not just that, but I just think in general, Viper is also strong. It's also better in Guild Wars just because it activates earlier, and that like you, just like how I said earlier, you immediately realize its effects. Whereas Aegis, like you can play around Aegis a lot better, in my opinion. You could just use AoE units that like just simply target different units and just you don't have to attack directly the units that are protected by the Aegis. You just hit the units around them and just rely on AoE.
Wait, does Viper counter Asmode?
It does. It does.
So
Asmode becomes one tile.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it counter supports too. So your Gallineer is only going to be buffing one unit. Your Rapithia is only going to be buffing one unit. So it has some pretty strong implications actually. Whereas Aegis does not do that.
But not CLR, right? CLR buffs everyone with the aura.
Yeah, Solus. Yeah, we don't talk about that character. That character's cheap.
All right, I'll consider that as my next option.
I think it's a great option.
Okay. Let's talk about Chaotic Nightmare. I think this is, in my opinion, this is just my opinion. I think it's the worst card. What do you think?
It's not a bad opinion. I do think this card is actually pretty good in its own right. There's a lot of useful implications of this card because it creates viability of a lot of other units. This is the kind of card I like, to be honest, where it allows certain units to shine that they wouldn't shine before. So you may remember another warrior that was hands down the best warrior in the game for a long time, and her name is Christina.
Yep.
This character has like fluctuating viability. Some people say like, oh, for a long time she was really good, like without a doubt. But
definitely.
With 100% defense units running around with units with guard, she kind of loses a little bit, but she's still a great initiator actually, because a skip attacker with 3 tiles and multi-hits is pretty darn strong. And this skill can this spell really like allows those kind of strategies to work. That's what about
Orphina?
Or like Orphina, exactly like you said. Orphina ignores defense, it's already, so that part's not useful, but the incoming damage of 200% is actually pretty massive.
Okay, let me just put this out there. I think this card is not that good because I have Celia plus 15, right? But of course, for players who don't have Celia, it can be a good choice to reduce defense.
Yeah, it's pretty much, and because you could target the lane, you really have like a very simple strategy with this one. You just target the lane that you are attacking with and try to blow through that lane as quickly as possible.
Wait, do you own this card?
I do. Do I own this card? I don't. I have like, if I do, it's at +1. I don't really use it that much. I used it one time in Guild Wars just to reduce the defense of Jin, and just so I can kill him guaranteed without like having him kill the rest of my units with this counter.
I'm curious if this card will work on Seer. Can you like amplify the damage to the point that Seer will die?
I don't think it will work very well, to be honest. Seer just has too much initial damage reduction to kind of you really have to do the math, I think, to make sure. So in your chat, Salky mentioned that he feels that you can compare Chaotic Nightmare with Orochi, and I think that's actually pretty correct in that regard. Because they kind of do both. They're kind of both like debuff spells that reduce the kind of make it easier for your units to kill to finish off the units, and they kind of fulfill a similar role to that. So I think they're kind of comparable. If you have Bloodthirsty Orochi, you don't necessarily need Chaotic Nightmare, and likewise, if you have invested in Chaotic Nightmare, you probably don't need to rely on Orochi. So they're kind of like, they do slightly different things, but I think their end goal is pretty similar.
True. Wait,
also, Nightmare lasts for up to 8 turns.
Yeah.
It's decent, I think. Yeah,
not that long, can right?
They can almost allow for 2 attacks, actually.
2 attacks?
Yeah. Maybe 3 if you're lucky, I suppose. But yeah. And you definitely do not want to rank up your Chaotic Nightmare to like rank. I think rank 6 and 5 is probably the highest you want to go. Because that's the thing, that's the kind of annoying thing with these spell cards is that like having it activate earlier but not increasing the duration kind of makes it like a little bit suspect sometimes.
Who does this card like counters right now?
It doesn't really
counter Livia?
It doesn't counter specific. It counters pretty much anything, I guess, that like relies purely on defense to survive. But also because it provides insane amounts of incoming damage, you can just straight up kill like tanks that you didn't think you could kill before. To put it to perspective, in older world arenas, I was running into a lot of issues of dealing with the famous Mimir Helga Jin combination, right? And I focused on playing bottom lane, so I was always running into that situation where I needed to blow through these units as quickly as possible so that I don't die. I relied a lot on Eden, actually, who was starting to fall out of favor. But Vinaka, Eden actually helps me a lot to the point where if I delay Eden to the 9th turn, I could possibly blow through Mamir's first shield. But if I had the spell card earlier, I could actually almost initiate with Eden and already blow up Mamir's first energy card and just wait out the 10 turns and kill her. So this card in general just pretty much allows it's less about countering specific units. It's more so about enhancing your current units and making them viable. That's what I think. And I think Saint said it correctly. Nightmare is a really good card for Guild War because I feel like in Guild War you're really restricted to be able to buff units. So if you use cards like this, it can definitely just like really, it kind of almost ensures that your units will not underperform and that having that kind of control in Guild War is very important.
Yeah. I was about to say this card might be useful to counter Grand, but then again, most Grand has Galenia anyways.
Right? I think it is. Yeah, having that incoming damage increase is actually really useful for certain units to actually finish off Grand, because some characters come close to killing her.
Yeah.
But it kind of missed the mark. Sometimes so this kind of helps a lot.
Sometimes Alex, sometimes Vals, depending.
Yep. And I think another good point to compare with Orochi is that this card does not give basically Orochi does have some counterplay with healing. So if they're like healing a certain kind of lane, basically there's like that thing going, the tug of war happening between the healing and Orochi's DOT. But Chaotic Nightmare is not affected by that.
True. Alright. Let's see, how many more cards do we... Okay, let's talk about this one, Sylphid.
Yeah. Sylphid is a pretty fun one. Basically, it allows your units to attack twice.
Yeah, but it starts at level 1 though, right?
It's
8 turns before it starts.
Yeah, it takes a while to start. That is true. And it has to start with the warrior as well, so it's not really useful in that regard. Basically, the only way I can see this card being useful at level 1 is for defenses, where you let your opponent attack, take up maybe 2 or 3, 4 turns, and then after that, hope that your warrior still hits before the 8th turn, and then you can get 2 attacks from that warrior, hoping that that works out. Now, it could be ranked up to not only activate earlier, I believe, but to also... It's
so expensive.
It's very expensive. This card is definitely like...
it's like level 6 only you get what before at 7th turn.
Yeah, this is definitely a card that you kind of want at rank 7.
It's so expensive, my god.
Yeah. I don't recommend this card to most people, but it's a pretty fun card to use.
Yeah, I just realized how expensive this card is.
Yeah, so Rion Gray in your chat asks, can it make Magician go first? And that's absolutely the case with it. So at rank 5, you gain the ability to target Magician. You target your Magician with this spell. And basically it allows the mage to charge up and then attack on first turn. So that's actually that's a lot of fun, I think.
Yeah, but that's at 8th turn, so you have to like chain so many people to.
Yeah. So what you have to do is essentially like you initiate with a taunt tank that you can rely on, like Grand Hilder and Lloyd. Pray that they don't run Falcon and sabotage your your strategy, and then afterwards you can pack round 1 with Belfern or Celia or something of the sort. It's gimmicky. I'm kind of mixed on this card overall.
Yeah, I don't think it will be consistent.
Yeah, but I think this is still a very good card, like if you rank up, and it's good for Guild Wars at least. But overall, in terms of actually like, in terms of like my if a new player were to ask me like, hey, what should I invest with, and I have limited resources, I would definitely not recommend Sylphid. I might even recommend Rakshasa over Sylphid in that regard, in terms of like the value you're getting, because Sylphid definitely requires you to get like the full. Yeah, you have to buy the full package to really like realize the potential of this
I have to
card.
spend like 10,000 diamonds before I can fully utilize the card.
Man. Just take out the credit card, my dude.
Yep. Yeah, alright, let's move on to, let's see. Okay, let's talk about the Howling Direwolf.
Howling Direwolf, okay.
Yeah, I feel like this card is really strong. What do you think, defensively, for Guild Wars?
I think it's pretty good. The nice thing about Direwolf is that it's like you could just immediately like use it and realize it's effect. It activates pretty early. I think at rank 1 it activates.
Yeah, first turn.
No, actually, it always activates first turn. So that's actually pretty useful. In terms of like defense and also offense. And then it reduces their attack by a pretty significant margin and reduces their crit damage by 600%.
Yeah.
And it lasts for a long time too.
Yeah, why don't more people use this? Like, you just make your Grand move first in Guild Wars, and then who can kill the Grand? Alec will have attack reduced by so much, Vals will have so much reduced, right?
Because even in the end, it's gonna sound crazy, but reducing attack by 150% and reducing crit damage by 600% is still not enough to make like some units useless.
How does this 150%, like, is this like just their base or including the buffs? You know?
I think it's the base.
Oh, just the base.
I think it's calculated with their base in mind.
Oh, I thought it's like after everything, after the buffs, you reduce 150%, so they'll have like no buffs at all, right? That's what I thought.
Yes, I think that's correct, to be honest.
Like the only unit that doesn't seem to counter this, doesn't affected by this is Sigmund, because his skill is HP base.
That's true.
But it counters almost everyone.
Yeah, but
I don't see anyone using this. Why?
To be honest, no. Okay. I agree with you. I do think this card is incredibly good, and I also don't see it a lot either. But I think a lot of people are just more, kind of more seduced by the potential of Falcon and the others, just to like target certain key areas and get a lot of mileage out of it. This card, it will always be useful. That's the thing. But the other cards could provide a little bit more utility. At least that's probably how they see it. Now, the thing is that like certain units, if an Alec that is debuffed by Howling Direwolf attacks your, like, let's say attacks your key units like Balze and stuff, he's still going to kill those units. That's what I think. So it kind of makes it doesn't straight out gimp a lot of the core units. It makes them like, the Alec is definitely not killing any Grand Hilder in that case. Yeah. And the Balze, but the thing is that like a lot of units are not really also. There's like two duality of some of these units. They have like their main thing where they can kill these units and do a lot of damage, but another part is the utility that they provide. And Balze is still going to kill squishy units even if she's debuffed by this. At least that's what I see. But she's also going to still apply her nullifier regardless in her buff prohibition. So that's why sometimes that's why sometimes Coiling Viper is actually preferred over this, is to kind of reduce the effectiveness of those units rather than just reducing their attack.
Yep.
I do think this card is good though. But to be honest, even if it's good, like I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
It's good to like reduce the effectiveness of like
We'll need
I
to
guess
test
as
it
mode
for
or
sure.
something. If I see like a guild war that runs as mode and stuff,
Yeah.
and too many units in that lane, I sometimes will throw this out there and just like try to make sure that because it allows me to like tank an ally or tank a as mode with like any unit in the game literally. So
yeah, you can tank as mode with Grand, right? Or is it too risky with this card?
you could literally just wait, you mean tank as mode with Grant? Oh,
Yeah.
with this card, yeah, you absolutely can.
Yeah. And the as mode
You
will
can
just
tank
die,
it.
right? Or
Yeah, you
well.
can tank it with Catapult Geezer even with this card, so you don't have to worry about that.
Ooh, true. Okay, last card, Blue Light Wisp. My chat is a big fan of this card. I don't know why.
I
They like this card a lot.
to be honest, it's the card I know the least about. So it kind of makes sense enough to, or before the fifth turn, or is it always the fifth turn? Yeah, or actually, for final rank for fourth turn. But
fourth turn, yep.
And starts off before sixth turn. So basically, before once it activates, it pretty much targets a unit of some sort and allows them to pass their turn to another unit. So it allows you to like say do something where you open with Grand Hilder to get the taunt and then attack with something else, as if like that turn has never happened. I think this is a card that's really up to like the user to make the most effective use out of, because this is definitely one of those big brain cards, I feel like.
Big brain cards.
Yeah,
a lot of people pair this with Sylphid, right? I think.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense. You initiate with something else, like, and then afterwards you just, I don't know, just attack
your
twice.
warrior move twice, yeah.
I really here's my issue with this card. Like right off the bat, you start off with the defender, right? And in most cases, when you start off with that defender, the thing you're going to be doing is like starting off with a taunt tank of some sort.
Yeah, and then you pass on to another person.
Yeah, and you pass on to another character. Now, here's the thing though, because the issue is that most taunt tanks right now that isn't Lloyd and Grand Hilder will get blocked if they run it into, say, Mammonier or something. Then they lose their taunt right off the bat. And also another problem is that a lot of people are using their Gungnir to target defenders. So by the time that this card like is realized and it activates, then their Gungnir is like maybe 3 or 4 turns away from like striking that defender down. And if also I think this has another issue in that like it doesn't really play well around Falcon. They'll just simply ignore whoever defender that you targeted with and just like focus on the other units.
Yeah, unless you don't use specific like magician or whatever.
Yeah, I think this card has a lot of counterplay right now that does not make it like doesn't really make it feel favorable. But I do think this card has a lot of potential.
Interesting.
This card is like one of those situations where its counters need to be like kind of phased out for it to really shine. And if you bother to rank it up, you can attack with 2 different warriors if you want. That sounds kind of good, I guess. I mean, it activates before for a turn, so it's actually like you can definitely do an attack where, let's say, you start off with you initiate with like I don't know, Gunther or something, and then after that you can attack with like a different character altogether.
Yeah, one of my before you came in, I was doing some formation roast, or I was checking out formations, and one of my viewers, Shadow Eagle, he uses this. He uses Sylphid and Wisp. Alright, so what he do in Arena is he pass on to his Alec, and then his Alec will get to move twice, but it gets countered by Sirens, I think. Because during that duration, I think your Alec will be charmed. Assuming that you're going first.
The Sirens activate in the same. You can potentially avoid it, I think, right? Wait, hold on, let me see. Sirens activates before the 5th turn, and Blue Light Wisp can activate before the 4th turn. So if you specifically attack on turn 4, you avoid Charming Sirens, and you also get the effect of Blue Light Wisp. So that's the way you can play around it. But that's like
So do you think that's strong? Like going with Alec to hit twice with this Wisp plus Sylphid combo?
It's strong enough, I guess. I mean, you don't really need the Wisp. The point of Wisp isn't to attack twice; is to pretty much pass that turn to someone else. So,
but the Sylphid alone is like you need to raid 8 turns at level 1, so it's quite hard.
Yeah.
It starts at 8 turn. Yeah. Unless you have like 7 magicians, then your 8th one is Alec. Which is why you sort of have a defender to pass on, I think.
I think so as well. I feel like the math doesn't align right to the point where it can make like both of these cards useful without having to get screwed up by Charming Sirens. So yeah, I'm not too sure about that.
Oh, but it does get countered by Gungnir, I think, because by then the Gungnir will hit your warrior, assuming it's an Alec to hit twice.
Yeah.
If enemy has Gungnir.
Yeah, and a lot of people are using Gungnir to just target either mage or defender anyways. So regardless, something within Blue Light Wisp is getting screwed up by these spells. That's what I feel like.
Yeah.
I just don't know about this card overall.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the one that brings the most question marks to my brain. So I think like it could be okay, but it's definitely for people smarter than I to kind of fully utilize.
Smarter than you? Yeah, let me see.
Nah, trust me, I'm not that big brain.
Does this allow you to pass a magician to another magician that has already charged up, and that magician would be able to go in round 1?
Here's the turn. It technically does, I think.
So
basically, magicians are always going to like pass their turn regardless if they're charging up. But because the magicians, it has a special condition where the duration of the wisp lasts for like 3 times the turn amount if it's targeting magician. So if they, let's say like Blue Light Wisp activates, is targeting your Celia, your first moving magician, and it's very likely that at round 2 she can move, and then afterwards immediately your Velfa moves afterwards. So she'll pass her turn in the same way that
like a supporter like that.
Yeah, kind of like that. But the thing is, the problem with doing this is that you need to make sure that Celia is alive at the very. You have to make sure that your first moving magician is alive.
It's just so much calculation, I think.
It's too much things that need to like. You need too many things to align correctly for it to like be viable. And I think like given how chaotic Arena is, you cannot predict a player in Arena will function the way that you want to. People in Arena are doing wild stuff right now. That's why attacking is so strong. Is because when you attack, you care less about what the opponent is doing. You're just trying to overwhelm them with your own strategy. And just like, okay, I'm going to initiate with Alec, and I'm going to Gungnir this character and stuff. And I'm just going to like go... pretty much Arena as it is now, it's about like kind of it's like 2 animals fighting each other, you know? This game advertises itself as a strategy game. There's sense of strategy, but right now it's more like, okay, I'm going to just do my oppressive strategy, and I don't care what you're doing. If you win... I guess you're the better player, but I don't care. I don't care where you put anything is. I'm just gonna focus on top lane and just like try to run you down.
Yeah, it's just so difficult to have that strategy maintained when there's so many factors. Like now we have rank boost and we have spell cards. Just so many things.
It's pretty crazy. I think like where the strategy components really fall in is in Guild War, but Guild War is so hard as well now. Just trying to figure out what to do and how to like figure out an optimal situation to approach certain Guild War defenses.
Your guild is currently rank 5th, right?
I think it's ranked 5th. I'm not sure if it's ranked higher or lower. Probably a little bit lower because we faced a tough guild and they had a lot of tough defenses.
Is your guild the highest ranking right now from the America server? From all the...
It has been for a long time. I think if you go to the Guild War tab and you say records before merging, pretty much like looking at Americas, I think we've been top guild for consecutively since season 30 to 52. But yeah, that's pretty much consistently a lot of first place. But of course, now that we're thrown into the big C now, where I think there's a lot of tough guilds to finally fight against. And I think we're ranked 7th right now.
I see. Yeah.